Hello, welcome to VNN. We have with us today Mr. Pramod Goyal. He is the CEO of Canadawide Financial Corporation. He is a management consultant, a financial strategist, and helps to grow businesses into big businesses, rather. Welcome to VNN, Pramod.
Thank you, Bala.
I think you should best describe your job and what exactly you do with your company. I mean, that our listeners will be very interested.
So, as you said, Bala, I'm a management consultant and a business advisor. So, basically, my company, Canadawide Financial, is into the market space helping businesses, especially the small and medium businesses, to aim at and grow into larger, bigger business operations. And we help them strategize, execute, implement, and find out ways, provide them solutions as to how they can grow.
Many people are interested. I've been talking to some people that they're interested in what is a startup business? Is it just something that you register a business and is that a startup, or a startup business should be something that is disruptive? It'll create some ripples in the economy. Is that a startup? What exactly is that?
To some extent, yes. So startup can be described as a business which is in initial stages of operations. And primarily you would say it's a new idea or a concept. It could be either a product or a service. And the key piece is, as you were saying, is basically the nature, disruptive nature of the idea or the
like
product
how
that you come.
Amazon and Uber, those began that way as startups, that way?
Yes, they were also. I mean, you can categorize now they were no longer a startup, but yes, initially when they started, so they were considered startups because they came up with a technology or a service aspect which was disruptive to the normal traditional marketing at that time.
So what would be your role as a planner, as a management consultant, be in this sort of a startup businesses?
So as we just discussed, so startup is basically somebody coming up with an idea of bringing out a service or a product that could change the way existing norms are for that particular aspect of doing business. So, but now it's just the initial stage. So somebody thought of an idea or a product, and then they would have to take it forward into actually running it into a business operation. So not necessarily the person who has the idea, he or she is well versed into making it a business venture, or even if they have some idea, then at least they would need some help. It could be in terms of putting up the business plan, doing some kind of market research, in terms of setting up the entity, the legal requirements, if any, to do those kind of businesses. Then important, to secure financing or the funding to support your business idea or venture. And then another important aspect is to bring, necessary amount of people or skill sets to support you to take that idea forward. And of course, then actual operations, then marketing. So it involves a whole gambit of things. So you need, I mean, not necessarily everybody has that expertise by themselves to take it forward. So
these entrepreneurs should have a distinctly different idea, isn't it, than what exists in the market to make it a success?
For sure. I mean, a lot of people copy or duplicate things. They also survive. But of course, I mean, the basic idea of a startup is that you have something new to offer, and then you can scale it to a level that, I mean, there's no bar.
There is a difference between, say, a startup company and a small business company, isn't it? What is the main difference? I mean, small business is a small business. Startups are also small businesses when they start, but small businesses, I think, remain as small businesses. Is that it? And startups grow.
Inherently, small businesses is what I can say is they're a level of entrepreneurship. I mean, like people cater to some existing demand in a localized kind of a setup, and they offer services, run a business as kind of maintaining. But don't go too far. I mean, in terms of operation size. Whereas a startup, I mean, there is no limit. As you gave examples initially, Amazon or Facebook
So
or Meta.
yeah, so
I
small
mean,
businesses are sort of confined to a sort of a geographical area, small area, rather.
not necessarily, but I would say majority of them.
Majority.
Of them. But I mean, there could be small businesses who are providing services or who are in manufacturing. So their area of operation could be larger, but I would say bulk of them or majority of them are localized.
What about medium enterprises and those?
Again, that's why they're called small and medium, because there is at least some limit either in operations or size
or financial capability,
or finances or a number of employees. But startup is just the initial stage. That's why we call startup. But then it can be scaled into any level.
When management consultants, they provide these services so that these companies can grow. Is that it?
No, I can't speak of everyone else what they do, but yes, we do. I mean, my firm does provide assistance to people in terms of any particular aspect or overall handling their cases. Yeah.
So I mean, so small businesses, I mean, you said they are very, very different from medium enterprises also. Their needs are different, isn't it?
So it's basically the category. Small can be, I mean, if general
how small is small? Yeah, how small is small? How many employees or what is the capital available?
The criteria is different in different landscapes. I mean, in Canada, it can be qualified in terms of different interpretations based on taxes, based on Industry Canada guidelines. So it could be a smaller operations involving fewer number of employees and up to a certain threshold.
So 10 to 100, is that a small company?
Yes, I mean anything less than 100.
Okay, and
so that could be classified as small business.
So what about these retail outlets are they considered small businesses?
They could, I mean, if they're that threshold.
Okay, the cross threshold.
So if for any reason their annualized turnover is more or the profitability is more than $500,000, then they don't get that exemption. I mean, you can still qualify them as small business, but then there, as I said, the distinction is based on Industry Canada guideline, but CRA might have a different if we talk about local, jurisdiction.
So is there plenty of government support or local government support or federal government or provincial support available to these enterprises?
There are many programs that are supportive to startups, to small businesses, and depending on their industry, the nature of business, where they are located. So some of the programs are from the federal government, some are from provincial governments. Some are even offered through local municipalities. So there are programs. Even Ministry of Innovation also has some schemes, but not everybody qualifies to fit in. So there are specialized programs.
I mean, I think many of these startup companies, I think these entrepreneurs started up and then they want to sell it. Is that the main idea behind this? I mean, they don't want to keep those companies, isn't it?
Not necessarily, but that there is a growing trend. What happens is, I mean, especially in the startup world, there is a huge market for good concept, good product, good ideas. And if they have started well and they've taken it forward to a certain level, and if the potential is huge, then there are bigger companies or bigger players who want to take it forward, like do it global. And they can offer, very attractive incentives for the individual entrepreneur or a team of entrepreneurs to sell that concept or to part away with the company. And in some cases, you'll be surprised. I mean, the multiples could be up to 40 to 50 times of their sales projected. So if say somebody was able to achieve a sales of 1 million, say in the first couple of years or 3 years, and if they are relatively pretty attractive, so they could technically be able to generate $40–50 million to sell that company. So average is about 10 to 15 times.
So that is what I think bigger companies look for, and they swallow smaller companies.
That's a growing trend. Yes, muscle power. Yeah, it happens. And it works for both. I mean, even entrepreneurs who are new, and I mean, they also have limitations, whether they would be able to take it globally, whether they want to continue in that kind of grand scheme of things. And if they are able to generate that windfall for themselves, I mean, a lot of people give in. I mean, they part away and then take up something else what they want to do.
So, and this, I was reading about this unicorn also. Unicorn is a different concept. I think that I was reading somewhere that it could be a startup company, but they have $1 billion worth of investments or capital.
Market capitalization.
Market capitalization.
Market value, you can say.
I mean, and apparently there are about 1,000 unicorns in the world today, and their capital amounts to some $3 trillion. That's quite a lot of money. It's more than economies of other several countries.
Absolutely.
Are there any in Canada too?
Quite a few.
Quite a few unicorns. And are these single entrepreneurs or part of bigger companies?
Normally, they have evolved now. I mean, they are now public limited companies.
Like Yahoo, Google, those sort of things.
There are multiple stakeholders. Yeah.
Are they mainly in tech and IT?
Most of them, you would say, most of them are in tech business. Especially the evolving sector, if you look at the SaaS, so the software as a service model, like Amazon or Flipkart or Airbnb or Uber, they're all SaaS-based technology products. And if you
just on an app, just an app. That's it.
Yeah, it's all platform-based.
So I mean, in your personal capacity, I mean, if there is a startup. Can you help these companies go, say, multinational or go?
To answer your question is very tricky. I mean, yes and no both. I mean, not every product or service could get into that threshold. So depending on if any particular service or product has that potential, of course we can play some role in terms of giving them the guidelines, the suggestions, connecting them to the right people and the right resources so that they're able to take the business forward.
Yeah, but I mean, why is India so popular for startups? I mean, the young talent is quite a lot in India. But lots of startups coming up there, isn't it?
For sure.
Many areas.
I mean, if you look at the numbers, sheer number is huge in India. Of course, I mean,
population, the demographics,
the number of people, the population, and in the last several years, the government has taken extra steps in terms of supporting the startup ecosystem. So, quite a few.
Yeah.
And there is a massive growth in India.
Any other you have any ideas for small businesses which want to tell our viewers? How can they grow? That's what they want.
This is something that people have. I mean, every day we notice that people coming out with ideas or some solutions for any particular existing,
product
problem. So it's basically generating out of a problem. So you have to think of, okay, this is a bottleneck or a problem in this area. How we can resolve this, and you find a newer way of addressing that problem. Or disturbing that, okay, any existing system or process takes long or is complicated. So if you have a solution that could reduce the bottlenecks and increase efficiency, depending on what it is, so that can then be scaled, and then its application could be worldwide. So a lot of people, and these services, if you look at, they have mostly come up in the tech sector because it's easier to do those kind of things. I mean, especially in manufacturing, it's a larger operation to begin with. So there are always issues. So, I mean, startups look attractive. I mean, of course, we're discussing. But again,
getting the capital, I think that's the main difficulty, isn't it?
Capital, of course. I mean, depending on, not everybody has deep pockets to start a venture. So there are fundings available, but definitely that is one area. And secondly, I mean, it is very rewarding, as we were talking about.
Yeah, I think mainly the satisfaction of doing something.
If you look at the failure rates of startups.
Yes, that's very high, isn't it? Up to 20%, it seems.
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah. So not everybody survives. I mean, maybe because of a variety of reasons, not having good manpower or team, not having funding, or the product doesn't work, or there is competition that gets in.
Yeah.
So there could be multiple reasons, but the rewards are still.
And the problem, I think, I mean, if there is a good startup they start doing well, there will be a lot of copycat businesses coming in. That happens, isn't it?
Initial advantage, whosoever
they get it,
gets in, they get that initial advantage for sure.
Okay, thank you, Pramod. That's quite an interesting discussion on what is a startup and how do you scale these small businesses, isn't it?
It is interesting, and the way we are seeing the growth of startups across the globe, especially in Canada, which is also a very conducive market.
Business oriented, yeah. The
where
policies,
a lot of startups come up, and we talked about India again. Yes.
Thank you, Pramod.
Welcome.
I hope we can continue the discussion some other time and go into other branches of business. We can do that, yeah.
Sure, we'll continue. Thank you.